Hey, 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 everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Grossman Files. Hey. Oh, we got a great one for you today. Yes, we got a great one for you today. And of course, where are we? Well, we're back in the familiar confines of the East Bronx. And actually, we're back in the neighborhood of the shooting scenes of Donna, Lauria, Jody, Valenti, Valentina, Suriani, and Alexander Esau here on the Hutchinson River Parkway Service Road here in the East Bronx next to the Hutchinson Parkway. And we are walking up to Buhre Avenue to see Donna's block first. Here's something kind of interesting that I found. Right near where the shooting site of Valentina was is Lauria Avenue. And what's interesting about that spelling of Lauria is that's quite a few of the initial reports about Donna Lauria's shooting had her name spelled this way with an E at the end. So I was just walking by here and I saw that that street existed here, and does it mean something? I don't know. It may or may not, but I found it interesting, almost like Berkowitz did the Valentina Suriani shooting. Like he filed it on that street of Lauria and the Hutchinson River Parkway, maybe as a nod. I don't know. Again, it's just some weird coincidence, odd synchronicity, or it may be on purpose, and Berkowitz chose that site on purpose in some weird way. I think one of the things that we're realizing is that we really don't know much about the shootings. We have Berkowitz's confessions, and we have, of course, the police files. But the little details of the shootings, I just don't think that we know them, and I don't think that any of us could conceivably say that he had a set way of doing things and that he had a specific, like he always did things the same. That's what people are saying. And it's just not the case, as we're gonna see in today's video. He talks about evolving as he went. So one of the things that I've made me want to come back out here and do this, sort of redo this video, because this topic of Lauria and Suriani was actually the topic of my second video ever back in 2021. But I was a Maury Terry fan back then, and I was giving you Maury Terry's story. In the subsequent years, we've learned quite a bit. In fact, we learned about this, more about this Donna Lauria shooting through the DJ of the Peachtree Disco. Some of you may remember we had DJ Tony Amato on as we come up on Buhre Arms, the site of the shooting. Some of you may remember we had DJ Tony Amato on as a special guest. He's friends with that whole Suriani crew, Gary, Mike, Gloria, and so on and so forth. And he very emphatically said, and it wasn't the only media spot where he said it. He said this before publicly. Berkowitz was in Peachtree Discos for weeks prior to the shooting of Donna Lauria. He introduced himself as Dave. DJ Amato remembers Berkowitz's handshake was kind of slimy and wet, and the dude just didn't quite belong there. So, yeah. Well, I'm sort of in the middle of the video, but I do Son of Sam work, and there was a shooting right here. It was a serial killer back in the 70s. All right, cool. So anyway, so DJ Tony Amato saw him, and that, of course, changes the tenor of the entire shooting, because Berkowitz never talked about being in Peachtrees. It's something he conveniently left out of the story. So basically, the thesis that I'm going for lately is that we don't know shit about these shootings. And so therefore, getting back to the Wendy Savino shooting, you can't say Berkowitz didn't do it because he didn't have a .32, or he never walked behind a car, or he never stopped, did 2 shots first and then waited and then did 3 shots and so on and so forth. We can't say any of these things with definitive, with a definite statement. And also, one thing that I can say is that I'm sort of losing my track here as I'm in front of the Buhre Arms. One of the things we can say, though, is that due to the fact of things like Wendy Savino and DJ Tony Amato, we really need to rethink all of these shootings and realize that this guy was evolving as he went, and he learned things from previous shootings that he used on subsequent ones. So therefore, his first couple of shootings were necessarily going to be different from the last ones. It's called evolution. As we stand out here in front of the scene of the second Son of Sam attack on Donna, Lauria, and Jody Valenti on the night of July 29th, 1976, which took place right here, right in this spot here. They were double parked right in front of the building, so it would have taken place right here. And let's see what Berkowitz had to say about this in his own writing, which, of course, remember, isn't the entire story because he left out the peach tree. So basically right here, what Berkowitz said was, on July 29th, 1976, when he passed Donna Lauria's parked car in the Bronx, he somehow just knew that she was meant to be the victim. Nothing was happening by chance. When he turned the corner, there was a parking space all set up, waiting. He walked back to her car and just fired the gun at the windshield as fast as I could pull the trigger. He can still visualize the thousands of pieces of glass moving in slow motion, and he thought the occupants were just hiding from the glass. When I left, she was just holding her hands over her head. He never saw any blood and was not even sure he had hit her until the next day when he read it in the newspaper. Nevertheless, when he got home that night, he felt very good. His satisfied demons eased off, and it was a tremendous relief. So this guy's talking about tremendous relief after having shot dead a 19-year-old, shot in the thigh, her friend. But it made him tremendously relieved, he says. Now, one of the things I want to do is go around the corner, because he said he was around the corner and he found a parking spot. So actually, let's go see what around the corner looks like. This is just one corner. Now, one of the things I find interesting about this building, Buhre Arms, is actually it's sort of like there's no other buildings like it, right in the immediate surrounding. Across the street, you have these little townhomes, right? And here is relatively a commercial block. Over here, those are stores. In order to get to the next building, it's behind here. This is not one complete building. I'll go down and I'll show you the alleyway. So in other words, what I'm trying to say here is that this is actually kind of isolated, even though it's in the middle of an urban area. So this is the alleyway behind Donna's building, 2860 Buhre Arms. And of course, this is the neighborhood where a lot of the Savino stuff took place. Chateau Pelham, where they thought the Joseph Messina guy who they thought was involved that first night, that's like right around the corner from here. And then the Gun Hill Manor, where Wendy and Joe were having drinks, just about not even a mile away. So this was Berkowitz's hunting grounds. This was his comfort zone. This was where he grew up, this area. He knew it very well. And this is why he chose these first few places here to do his shootings, because he knew the area like the back of his hand. Now, one of the cool things I have in today's video, as we continue to talk about Donna and Valentina, is I have new crime scene photos. And before anybody thinks I'm not going to show you violent photos, I made a vow to Valentina's friends that I would never show those photos publicly. And of course, I'd get kicked off YouTube if I did, because you're not allowed to show that type of stuff. But I have the detective photos of the night and the next day that after Valentina was shot. And of course, we are back here in front of Buhre Arms, and we'll check out the other corner as well. Let's go in, see what it looks like inside. Maybe I can get in. On my first video that I made here, it was, it wasn't it was under all this scaffolding. So this is the front entranceway. And this is, of course, look how beautiful this building is. That's one of the things that people don't realize about the Bronx, is that it has a lot of very, very nice and well-built buildings. I mean, this looks like something that could be on Park Avenue. So this is where, obviously, Donna would come in and out, and her father came out the night that she was shot to find her basically sprawled out on the ground here, right in front of the building. This is his view. This is what he would have seen when he came out. And of course, again, the car was right here, and I'll go across the street so we can get a much wider perspective. So I'm actually really glad that I came back out and we redid this video, because we know so much more now. Not only about this shooting, but about all the shootings in general. And again, one of the things that I'm trying to make the audience understand is that we can't necessarily take Berkowitz's version of all of these, especially the ones that he made later. Like, we can't take them as gospel truth, because he left out peach trees. He didn't say that he was at peach trees for a couple weeks. What was he doing at peach trees for a couple weeks, right? Prior to the shooting of Donna Lauria, where she was there every week on Wednesday. And he was there on Wednesdays in the prior weeks as well. And he was like obsessed. Talks about how she was promised to her, and then he referenced her in the Son of Sam letter as my pretty princess. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that even though we know truths about this case, I think we're basically now 4 years into this, almost 50 years after the fact. I think we're only now starting to understand how to look at these crimes, which makes sense, because we didn't have all the information that we needed to make sense of these crimes until this video series came along. So this is the scene here of Buhre Arms, where on the night of July 29th, 1976, David Berkowitz took his second victim, Donna Lauria. So of course, peach trees changes things, because it gives us a different perspective. He was probably stalking Donna for a couple of weeks, and that's why he ended up here. You think it's a coincidence that he ended up at the building where people who went to peach trees the same night he went, and he would go specifically for those weeks prior to the shooting where he was witnessed? You think that's a coincidence that he just ended up shooting her here? No, most likely he stalked her. And he just didn't want to admit it to anybody, because that, of course, then brings in first-degree murder charges, not second-degree. Remember, this guy was incredibly smart. He knew police procedures. He had police equipment in his car, like scanners. As we look at this neighborhood of I don't know what this neighborhood's called, Pelham Gardens, I don't even know, but heavily Italian back in the old days. Still a very nice, solid, middle-class community. I don't know if it's as Italian as it used to be, but you can easily see wisps of all that here in the neighborhood of its former Italian nature. So I have some pictures that I want to show you once we get closer to the Valentina site. And so basically that's it. Takeaways from the Buhre Avenue shooting of Donna Lauria is that he was at peach trees. He was witness there. And of course, that changes the entire tenor of this shooting. And of course, brings into the notion that we can't necessarily trust all of his recollections that he that he told his psychiatrists, that he wrote to Abramson. There were things he left out, just like he left out Wendy. But he really didn't leave out Wendy. He told us all that he did it. He said he shot an old woman who crawled away. Yeah, he was being cryptic, and yeah, he said it happened in Yonkers, but he was talking about Wendy. Oh, why didn't he ever reference her? He did reference her. He referenced her in the confession where he talked about shooting an old woman. And he referenced her in the newspapers after, where they quoted that. And of course, at the interrogation, he denied ever saying that, which I found was interesting. So anyway, listen, at this point, you either believe the evidence or you don't. And there's really nothing I can do at all to change people's thoughts. I thought Billy the Artist would change people's ability, but it actually solidified the Maury fans even more entrenched. So whatever, we're just gonna, you guys, if you enjoy your stories about Roy Cohn trafficking children in Untermeyer Park and burying their bodies, that's on you guys. So we're now here on the Hutchinson River Parkway Service Road. And we'll just say what Berkowitz had to say about this. So again, I'm reading this verbatim, and this is from his letters to Abramson. So we're not at the site yet. We're going to get to the site, but I want to just sort of establish while we're here on this road what he said. So he goes, the sixth incident was in the Bronx, a double murder of a young couple on the service road of the Hutchinson River Parkway. It was my best job because it resulted in 2 deaths. Plus, I left my first carefully concocted note on the scene. My shooting pattern improved greatly due to my fearlessness, which slowly developed, and my two-handed shooting method. 4 shots were fired. 3 hits the victim out of the 4 fired. The man was hit twice in the head, the girl once in the face. Now I was making the papers nearly every day. The chase was on, and the public was watching out for me. So you see, right in this passage, he talks about evolving his methods, how he became more fearless as time went on. So let's talk about that in terms of fearlessness. That means he was scared in the first few attacks. So that could describe Wendy, right? Him taking 2 shots, pausing, going, oh God, and then kind of walking away maybe, and then coming back thinking, oh, I gotta kill her, she saw me. I mean, who knows what was going through his head. But just because Berkowitz paused, walked possibly to the back of the car, although we're not sure, and then walked back and shot her 3 times, it doesn't mean anything like that wasn't what he did at Lauria. I actually heard a rumor about the Lauria shooting, which I'm going to hit you on. I have no way to verify this, but I have it on very good authority, and it actually changes everything about Wendy's shooting. So again, I was told this by somebody who was in the position to know, and I'm just going to leave it at that because it's sensitive information. But apparently, one of the first interviews that Jody Valenti gave, she said that some of you may remember, this is actually kind of interesting. And again, this is just something that I was told exists. I don't know it actually exists, but I would like this information to get out because maybe Jody Valenti will see this and get in touch and be like, yeah, that's actually what happened. So what I was told about the Valenti, and remember she was with Donna Lauria, what I was told about Valenti was that, remember how Maury Terry in his book writes about how like the 2 girls were sitting there and they saw some dude standing and they were like, now what's this guy doing? And then all of a sudden, like, he started shooting. What I heard about Valenti was that Berkowitz actually came up to the car first and was playing games with them, like a little version of hide and seek. He was dipping under the window and then coming back, like if this was the window, right? He was doing like one of these type of jammies and then coming back up and doing like this. And that would actually explain why these girls were confused as to what this dude was doing. So it does ring true. This is something that Berkowitz never admitted to and something that we've never heard about. If this is true, it changes everything because of course that means, because he never was reported doing that again. Oh, Berkowitz had to do everything the same at every shooting, right? That's what people say. No, He was evolving. He told you he was evolving. So anyhow, we are now getting closer to the site of the Valentina shooting. And I do want to show you some of these photographs of the crime scenes and the detective. So of course, this first one here, you can see the Hutchinson River Service Road going from left to right on the bottom of the screen. And that's actually this highway that we see right here. And I'm standing basically right at the service road there, which is like the third road up from left to right, if that makes sense to you. That would be this road right here. Then, of course, we have this picture here, which is a little different perspective of the Hutchinson River Service Road, which I'm aiming at right now with my camera. All right, let's find some more pictures here. Just have to find them so I can describe what we're seeing. All right, so we're gonna walk up to the front because we have some kind of interesting photos to look at. So yeah, we'll read another recounting of Berkowitz's shooting of Valentina and Alexander. And of course, for specifics of that, I have a million videos with Val's friends where they talk about how they met and the effect and the aftermath and so on and so forth. But this picture here was taken by the police the I guess the day after. I'm not quite sure. But this is the house that it was in front of, the shooting was. And of course, that house is right here. As we can see, the same house. Here's a picture of the car that night. And of course, what's kind of interesting is that here's a picture of the detective next to this tree. And I'm gonna try to line it up so we can get it like exact. So that tree on the left there, this is where the car was. That tree on the left. And you can see it's still the same tree. So that tree sort of marks the spot where this all happened. And I'm gonna try to line up the picture that would be with the car, which would be like right over here. I don't want to get hit. Give me a second. So that picture would have been taken from the middle of the street right about here. And as we carry on, let's listen to what Berkowitz actually had to say about this. So, on July 29th, 1976, whoops, sorry, wrong one. I apologize for that. Again, we do this low-tech phone and camera. Okay, this is the one that I wanted to read right here. On April 17th, 1977, back in the Bronx, was the first time he understood that he was to kill a male as well as a female. I guess Frances Carr wanted something to eat. Both she and Nanny Cosmo, General Cosmo's wife. It was more than eating. The female demons wanted some action too. Sex. It develops that the demonic creatures keep in captivity and have sex with the souls of their victims. The patient complains that he too was supposed to have such privileges, specifically with Donna Lauria, but they were never granted. In explaining the phrase pretty princess in one of his letters, he wistfully identifies her as the girl I was supposed to marry. I never knew her. Sam promised her to me. That's Donna. He didn't give her to me. I figured he would. So even in this shooting of Val and Alex, as we walk towards Val's building where she lived, he's talking about this being a different shooting because Frances Carr wanted and Nanny Cosmo wanted sex, so we had to kill a male. So to the people who are saying, oh, Berkowitz had to do everything the same, because that's what the critics are saying in order to debase and discount the Wendy Sabino story, well, that means he didn't shoot Alexander and Val, because he shot a male and he had never shot a male before. He shot Carl, but he thought it was a woman, right? I mean, you get what I'm saying? In other words, we can't say that this dude did every shooting the same. Every shooting had a different circumstances surrounding it and a different mindset that he had surrounding it. So therefore, you can't say that he didn't shoot Wendy because he didn't have a .32 or because he never walked to the back of a car. Assuming he did walk to the back of the car, Wendy just assumed that. She didn't know it for sure. Or that because he was wearing a leather jacket. People actually use his smile and say he never smiled. That just patently is false and makes no sense. His smile was his biggest characteristic. So here's where, of course, Valentina lived. 1750 Hutchinson River Parkway Service Road. And 1950. And of course, she moved here from the Mace Avenue houses, much more near where Billy the Artist lived, Leidig, Barnes Avenue, that whole area by St. Lucy's School. And then when she was a teenager, they moved over here. So this is why, my friends, she was with Alexander Esau on this particular stretch of road on the night of April 17th, 1976. Now, 77. Now, let's look at Berkowitz's. Now, I told you I got some good shit, right? Like, I got some good exclusive information, which only we have here. And one of those things I have is is his USPS, his Postal Service application. And in it has all of his days of work. And it says here on 4/16 and 4/17, which was the date of the 4/17 was the date of the shooting of Val and Alex. He had both those days off. And the next day, the 18th, he was due in at 2 p.m. So I don't know if that means anything, but he definitely did this shooting when he had some days off, and probably that allowed him to sit at home, stew, and think about things and get pissed off at the noise that was happening. Remember, April 1977, pivotal month in the Son of Sam crimes, because that's when everything got ramped up to the nth degree, both against the victims, because now he was killing for Nanny Cosmo, wanting sex, and Francis Carr, and he was devolving into this whole mess. But also he was going nuts in his own neighborhood, shooting dogs, sending letters, and so on and so forth. So we have a couple more pictures that I'd like to show you, which would be coming up here soon, I think. Yeah, St. Teresa. So, sorry. So just a couple more pics, and then we'll conclude our discussion. So this is St. Teresa Avenue and Hutchinson River Parkway Service Road. And as we see here, this picture was taken from this perspective. And of course, this building here in the front is new. Used to be a shorter house, but I'm just kind of like gonna go where they took the picture from, which is like right here. And that should line up. And then this one over here, as you see in this picture, it's just the street going all the way down. And that would be this over here. All right, so pretty much done with the presentation. I just kind of want to wrap things up a little bit and talk a little bit about what we've learned today and what we've seen, even though I've repeated myself a million times on this. But no, I'm glad we came back out here because, again, our first video here that we did in 2021 was extremely basic, and we were only using the words of the liar Maury Terry and David Berkowitz's account. And so if you get the words and the information from a liar, well, then you're basically lying to your audience. I wasn't doing it on purpose, but I was very earnest in my approach and thought that we were telling the truth. But as we've learned, we really weren't. We didn't know anything about this case. And so learning about the case in the last couple of years, it actually pays to come back and revisit these scenes with the new information. So today, the basic thesis, as we look at this neighborhood here, which actually looks quite a lot like Yonkers, and I'll walk this way and then we'll end. So the basic thesis is that there's information about these crimes that we didn't know and that we're learning in 2025. Particularly with the Lauria case, we know that he was stalking peach trees. And then he just ends up coincidentally at the right time when Donna Lauria decides to come back from peach trees, when he was most likely there that night. That's not a coincidence. And then we have the possibility, again, I'm not saying it's a fact. I have it on good authority that Jody Valenti testified to this, but I don't actually have it in front of me. But because I heard from such an authority on it, I wanted to actually throw this into the mix as a possibility, and maybe Jody will confirm this. And if not, then it just goes into the shit can, and we'll discount it. But she said that Berkowitz was playing hide and seek with them for a few seconds, dipping under the window and going up the window. He's probably smiling too at the same time, but she didn't testify to that. But she testified that he was going below the window and up the window several times, which is why they said, "What's up with this guy?" And that's even reported in I don't know if I'm getting the exact words right, but that's even reported in Maury's book, that they said, "Now what's going on with this?" or "Who's this guy?" or something. Why would they say that unless he was standing there, right? And they could see him and wonder what he was doing. He talks about how he just, in his thing that we read, that he got a parking spot, immediately went to the car and fired. I believe Jody. I think Berkowitz left out. I think he did these crimes, so he knew the particulars, but I don't think that he gave the cops in his confession the details that he definitely knew about, and that would have been one of them. Hey, how are you doing, sir? And then, of course, we have in the Valentina crime, the Valentina and Alexander Esau shooting, about how Nanny Cosmo and Francis Carr wanted sex, so he had to get his first male victim. And of course, threaded throughout all of these things that we read today is the whole notion that he was evolving and changing his tactics as he went, as he learned. So all I would ask, because I know I have no control over people's beliefs, and quite honestly, for my mental health, I don't want to even try to control what people are thinking, because it's maddening. But the best I can do is give you the information that I have, and you could either accept it or not, and that's cool too. So, but the only thing that I really would wish for is that, especially now that we're showing the Sabino files, is that we're all talking the same language, right? But I guess it's just not to be. The best thing I can do is educate and hope for the best. So anyway, guys, I think I'm probably going to be doing a couple more of these site shooting videos, going back and redoing some of the older ones that we did. Brooklyn's good, Freund is good, Voskerichian is good, But Lamino Damasi could probably be redone. And of course, Denaro can be redone because, although that's a very simple one, we really don't have much information to go by. Carl, you were shot by Berkowitz. He shot you with one hand. He writes about how he was wild and in that because he was tentative and nervous and only shot with one hand. Again, showing, and he did the same thing, excuse me, he did the same thing with Lamino Damasi too. He talked about how he evolved. Incorporate that into your operating systems, guys, because it's the only way to make sense of these crimes. All right, well, I think that's basically it. Thank you very much for joining me on today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. It's starting to get real nice out, warmer weather, and I don't mind that at all. All right, guys, well, listen, we're reaching the end. Retirement 2025 is imminent by the summer. So enjoy yourselves. I'm enjoying myself while this is still lasting. And we'll see you on the next video. Take care.